We all know that in the past 2 years, AI, especially generative AI, has entered people's lives. Of course, some people use it a lot in their daily lives, while others use it less. But I have to tell you, in the world of GMAT preparation, if you know how to make good use of it, it can be extremely helpful to you. Today, we're going to talk about how to use the latest AI to assist your preparation, because the newest AI has already moved beyond what you might have imagined a year or two ago. Back then, when AI first came out, maybe you just thought it could help you write a poem or an article. At that time, AI might have only helped you brainstorm ideas, write essays, or do translations. But now, AI is capable of much more. It can not only help you with language and logical thinking, but also assist you with mathematical and scientific reasoning. Especially over the past year, the main focus of generative AI development has been on solving PhD-level scientific problems, as well as tackling advanced coding and complex mathematical problems. So how can we make the most of these advanced high-level logic AIs to help us solve the various types of GMAT questions? That's the topic we'll be discussing today. In a moment, I'll also talk about some basic attitudes and principles you should follow when interacting with AI. It might sound a bit odd to mention attitude, since the AI won't get upset with you. However, if you stick to these principles, your communication with it will go much more smoothly and you won't get stuck. All right, let's get started. First, let's take a look at why Dustin now advocates incorporating AI into your regular practice reviews. All right, we need to understand the fundamental concept first. AI will never take your place in the actual exam. If it were to take the exam for you, based on the AI capabilities I've observed so far, whether it's math or verbal, any kind of logicist could already outperform 99% of test takers worldwide, which would be meaningless. That's something we rarely see at present, of course. We don't know what the future will look like. Maybe one day AI will be able to do everything independently. But as of now, it still can't independently complete complex human tasks, but its ability to handle single tasks is very strong. In business schools, of course, they've started introducing courses on how to use generative AI. And in consulting or other industries, they're also beginning to adopt AI as well. However, at present, our role is to let humans and AI coexist, making it the best teammate for humans, even in military contexts. So the basic principle for interacting with it is that you must remain in control, and make good use of it is your responsibility. It won't take exams for you. So when you use it today, or when you discuss things with it later, if something unexpected happens or you encounter some obstacles, don't think, oh, Dustin, this AI is useless. It's terrible. Look, it even gets the answers wrong. Don't think like that. Why? Because you're not testing it today. There's no point in testing it. It won't take the exam for you. What you need to do is let it help you learn. Once you truly understand this basic concept, rather than thinking it will take your place, it's better to realize that if it could really do everything independently, then the exam itself wouldn't exist. So exams will always be taken by people, and its role is to help you learn. Therefore, when you find yourself communicating with it, if some unexpected situations arise, what you should think about is how to discuss and improve things with it, rather than just deciding to abandon it. Among those intermediate level students, there are people who can help guide you on how to use it. With AI, I will always remind you that, hey, during your interactions with it, or during the review process, what are the points where I can help supplement your understanding? From a human perspective, from the perspective of a test taker, this would be better. Now, let's first look at why pure review methods in the past might have been less efficient and what problems we can see with relying solely on review. The first issue is a fundamental human weakness, the tendency to just keep doing practice questions over and over again. When you keep doing this repeatedly, what you're actually enjoying is similar to gambling or playing poker. If you look at casinos, the most profitable or the most popular games aren't those like Texas Hold'em, where you need multiple people to place bets. So what are the most popular games in a casino? They're the ones like dice games where you bet on big or small, or slot machines where you pull the lever and immediately find out if you win or lose. Because humans are drawn to seeing instant results, win or lose, right on the spot. It stimulates dopamine release in the brain, making you feel excited. Winning, losing, it's just like how people love to scroll through short videos. Nowadays, a lot of us enjoy watching Instagram Reels or TikTok. On IG, it's the same with those quick images. Is shorter and faster the information, the quicker we get the results, and that makes our brains addicted. So when you used to do lots of practice questions, it was actually the same mechanism at work. You just wanted to finish the question quickly, check the answer right away, and see if you got it right or wrong on the spot. You rarely stay behind to review. You're always thinking about whether you can do more questions so you can see the answers as quickly as possible. You want to see if you're making progress, but in reality, just doing questions without reviewing them won't lead to any improvement. You'll keep making the same mistakes. Some more diligent students eventually figure this out. Actually, you can't just keep doing practice questions. You also need to review your mistakes. But the problem with traditional review methods is that they only let you see why you got a particular question right or wrong. For example, the question might be about craftsmen, or about business development, or about a specific company, say an electronics company. For example, its revenue or its strategies, and you're asked to explain the logic. Traditional detailed explanations, whether written out or the ones you see in the official guide or even in solution videos, mostly just stay within the story of that particular question, how you should understand it, and within the scope of that question, how you should reason through it. At this point, test takers will face a problem. You may have understood the story of this particular question, but the next time you encounter a similar question or a different one, you might not understand it again and end up making the same mistakes as before. We often refer to this as simply cleaning up after the dead for this question, rather than looking for clues and improvements for the next one. You haven't identified the real reason behind your mistake in this question, exactly which step you got wrong, or which concept or logic point you didn't understand. But you just stay at the surface of the story, and that's where the problem lies. Let's take the simplest example. Many students read the test when reviewing RC. Their way of reviewing is just, oh, we go back to the passage and locate the exact sentence that addresses the question, copy and paste that part, try to understand it. And then when looking at the options, mark the words in the wrong choices that they think are incorrect. Because this part says, oh, A trees, but the passage talks about B trees, so the species is incorrect. The passage talks about market share, but this option talks about sales. So the concept of market share is different from the concept of sales. So next time in the exam, this story might not appear again. And you might make the same mistake easily, right? This is what we call only focusing on this particular question without finding a takeaway for the next one. A so-called takeaway is something that applies across different questions. So when you encounter a different question next time, you'll still be aware of the possible pitfalls. Let me give an example of what it means to find a takeaway. Like we just talked about market share and sales volume smarter. Students will realize that whenever they see ratios and absolute values in the future, they need to pay attention. Taking it a step further, they'll remind themselves that whenever any statistical data is mentioned in the passage or in the answer choices, they should make a point to think carefully and quantify things when the green light is on. They'll consider the relationships between different variables or even categorize them. This is a more effective way to extract takeaways. On the other hand, a less effective approach is just reading through the story without actually categorizing anything. They also haven't thought about how the next question might be presented in a different form, nor have they considered how to design an overall preparation strategy. They just keep practicing problems without reviewing or conducting a systematic review first. Even if they do a systematic review, maybe they just put it into an Excel sheet and make a list. But everyone, you can think about this for a moment. All those things you've done in the past, the log, meaning your record of mistakes, is just put into an Excel sheet or a Word document. Let me ask you, have you ever gone back to reorganize it? The data you've compiled, can it actually help you derive any new information? It seems like you haven't really done any of that. It's more like you just put it in Excel for peace of mind and then forget about it. So what's the point of doing that? The most important thing should be to take your past mistakes, whether it's a single mistake or a series of them, organize them in a way that helps you in the future. Directions for improvement. But it seems like your past reviews haven't really achieved that. Either you just keep listing the questions without actually reflecting on them, or you only focus on the story behind the question when reviewing it. But you haven't categorized the types of mistakes you made, or even if you know the reason for your errors, you haven't thought about practicing similar types of questions. I believe that with the points I just mentioned, maybe even several of them, you probably feel a strong sense of resonance. This situation is very common. Why? Because we all know that Taiwanese test takers, whether you're a full-time candidate or working while you're studying, if you're a working candidate, you're already exhausted from your job. And after work, it's rare to meticulously plan other activities. Just preparing for the exam is tiring enough. So it's uncommon to create a detailed study plan specifically for the exam. Of course, for my coaching students, I help them set up a detailed plan and also teach them how to thoroughly review their mistakes so they don't have to worry about handling all of this on their own. What about full-time candidates? You're already a bit removed from that passionate era of exam preparation that was back in your senior year of high school. Plus, the exams we took in the past weren't as focused on testing logic as they are now. Back then, the exams covered a very fixed range of material. As long as you practiced and memorized everything within that scope, there wouldn't be much variation in the actual test. So you might not really know how to conduct a smart review, but now we're about to get started. What we just saw was the wrong way to review. Now, let's take a look at how, with the help of AI, exactly where can it be faster than traditional computers. First, when you pair a good prompt with generative AI, it can help you understand the core concept that the question setter wants to test. Because the purpose of the question isn't that the question setter wants to defeat you. This isn't like playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or those TV quiz shows where the questions are designed to stump the contestants. When someone creates a question, there's always a fundamental logic behind it. That logic is meant to test certain points. As test takers, it's easy for us to fall into an adversarial mindset. We tend to think, I just need to get this question right. But if we analyze the question from the perspective of the question setter thinking about what fundamental concepts the question is meant to test, it's much better. Not only does this make it easier for you to learn, but it also helps you organize your knowledge afterward. And AI can assist you with this process. Second point, regarding the error analysis we just discussed, if you only use the traditional review method, you're simply checking whether your answer to this particular question was right or wrong. However, AI can help you in a more advanced way. It can categorize and organize your mistakes for you. More importantly, AI can also connect the concepts you use to solve one question to other similar questions. It can help you find similar practice questions or even generate a brand new practice question for you. I hope all of you can learn these things. Now, let's look at Dustin's approach. In the past, Dustin has worked as a tutor, helping each student with planning, study plans, and guiding them in their practice and review methods. There are three levels to the review process. The first level is what I just mentioned, whether you can, from the perspective of the question setter, understand the concept they want to test. And the shortest correct solution path they expect you to take. That's the first level. The second level is, can you, through the process of making mistakes, figure out exactly what you are lacking? Where exactly is your ability insufficient? Not just which specific word you got wrong in the question. Go beyond the story of the question and identify your own weaknesses. Third, based on your weaknesses, find ways to address them. The direction for future improvement, as well as similar questions I can practice in the future, we will demonstrate based on these three levels.